Everybody, welcome. Had a little bit of a issue with YouTube getting everything going, but we're here. We're back. So, welcome. Anybody who watched the show earlier, thank you. Appreciate all the love and support there. My blog Sunny, who really helps promote, get the word about the shows out, and Bigfoot Outlaw Network, thank you. So, if you missed the earlier show about gym starter kits, check that out, please. Tonight, we are doing something a little different. We're going to do a movie review. I had two on stack that we were going to do, but the movie reviews are going to be American Sasquatch, Man, Myth, a Legend, David Paulides movie that came out just not too long ago in 2025. And we are also going to do a review, Dawn of the Dog Man by Small Town Monsters. Now, on that, Lenny, good to see you. How you doing, my friend? I hope life is treating you well. Donna Dew is back. Thanks for joining us earlier. Mary's here. Now the gang's all coming in. We'll get things rolling as we go. As the title said, we were going to do two movie reviews, but luckily, what is going to happen? Happy New Year to you, Lenny. I hope Christmas went well as well. Luckily, what's going to happen with this Dawn of the Dog Man is going to be saved until next Friday because Heather Moser is going to be on, who is the producer for Small Town Monsters. And we are going to talk about what went into this. I was lucky enough to be a very small part of it, but this is an amazing, comprehensive history of dogman history. It dispels some myths on certain facts. It also has a lot of encounters I haven't heard before. So I will be extreme. I love talking to Heather. So the rare chances that I do are always fun. And it's going to be a real pleasure to have her on the show next week. So show won't be too long tonight. We're just going to talk about American Sasquatch, Man, Myth, Monster. Make sure I even got that part right. Yes, American Sasquatch, Man, Myth, Monster. I have to say that during this whole, Bigfoot has been was a small part of my life. It's always been a very important part of my life to me because of the fact that it began when I was so young with the experiences at my grandmother's house, with the Patterson Gimlin film being shown on TV and being actually told, yeah, that's what's at grandma's, but just not that one. Up until my sighting in 1987. And once I started actually trying to confirm that, 30 years later. Ariande, how we doing? Good to see you. But thanks to a friend who I met in a Bigfoot group, I wound up in an area and had a lot of stuff happen. I've had some really cool things happen. I've had some very scary things happen. A lot of unexplainable things happen. And where I'm going with this is because of I've had my share of a couple sightings. I've had a lot of tracks found and various other howls and knocks and stuff thrown at us, and of course the infamous peanut butter run that I had and then running with the DNR gave me a perspective of what can be going on. But when you really start looking into the topic, my perspective is an extremely narrow piece of the pie. So, Angela wants me to shut up. That's okay. She can always click out. That's the beautiful the choice of the internet is you can go someplace else if you find the desire to. Otherwise, you can sit here and listen to me talk about the fact that with American Sasquatch, that's a movie you should see if you have any interest in the topic whatsoever. The uh, the amount of information in the topic is amazing. The movie comes at it from a point that I haven't seen anything come at it this way. They ask really hard questions in the Bigfoot world, and they also attack it from the point of they try to answer those questions, which is great because in the Bigfoot community, there is such a division in is it just an ape? Is it a person? Is it an alien? Is it a demon? This movie attacks it from, I shouldn't say attacks, this movie comes at it and from all perspectives, it gives everybody's point of view. Nicole Edwards, I'm a small creator and everyone needs love. Nicole, make sure you post your link up too so we can check it out and share the love, as we would say. So yeah, it's got big names in it. You've got Ron Moorhead in the movie. I know David Paulides gets a lot of heat, a lot of criticism. And Michelle, how you doing? Good to see you in here. Because of the fact the way David puts out his information in the 411 files, he gets a lot of heat because people say he puts information up, but he doesn't make a stand on what it is. So to me, I don't think you need to take a stand on everything. Sometimes you need to do, MK Davis is good for this, David Paulides, where you put the information out. This is the way it is. This is without my opinion. These are just the facts. What do you think happened? And so when this movie came out, I had my doubts about how I would like this because I thought it was just going to be things where we're just going to hear, information and then no solutions. And very much to my surprise, I was incredibly wrong on how this went because there are some real shocker moments because they address, is it just a man? Is it just an ape? Is it spiritual? They everybody takes their stand and they get to explain where they come from on it, which is really cool because the fact that a lot of times when people voice their opinion, they get hammered on by whether you're on the ape side or the woo side, if you want to call it that, the magical side, the paranormal, however you want to phrase it. But when you sit and watch this movie, they get a chance to actually explain everything to you without the interruption of getting hammered on. And there is a lot of things that have been put into evidence, but there is a lot of unknown details that they express in this movie, like the fact, the Sierra sounds are with Ron Moorhead are talked about, and the amount of things that they had to go through to get that listened to and eventually proved that those sounds are real. They're not human, they're outside the human realm, and they're a form of speech and they're a form of language. And when you get into language and speech, you take that away from the apes and it explains how, as far as the anatomy and be able to have the inflection and tone and everything to put feelings into words and into language, where the sounds Ron Moorhead recorded are very much language, and they're repeated phrases, and there's even uh, like a question and answer between male and female Bigfoot, and the fact that, and you get to hear it, and then you get to hear the explanation, which is really cool. And like one was Belfu Juju, and then the male answered Belfu something something else. So it was a question about whatever Bofu meant, but then the male's like, no, Bofu, blah, blah, blah. So there's some incredible things as far as proving that there's language out there. There's more than one tape, and you get to hear that. DNA, it touches on that topic, which is there's some advanced DNA that had been done I didn't hear about. Not that I, have my connections or anything, but I hadn't read or heard about anything. So you have some crazy DNA evidence that's put out there. And they also give explanations, possible explanations, again, depending on where you're at. But with our Bigfoot interdimensional, they address that issue. So like I said, they ask the really hard questions. And it's not just a matter of saying just because I said so. It's here's the evidence that why we've came to this conclusion. And like the fact that Ron Moorhead points out and uses quantum physics, that there's a certain point, and a lot of people have done, and even I have been included, is where you're following a set of Bigfoot tracks, and something that's leave tracks 2 or 3 inches deep all of a sudden just stop. And it's like, even though it's the same type of terrain ahead, where if they took one more step, you would see the track, they just stop. So how do they go from, do they actually backtrack every single step to someplace else? Unlikely. I don't think so. Or, are they capable, when you jump into the quantum physics, as Ron Moorhead points out, are they able to hit a certain frequency that changes matter into energy so they can somehow lighten their weight? Sorry, Jewel, how are you doing? Glad you can make it to the show. Thank you for joining in. And they come historical perspective as well. They get Native Americans on there who have, ever since they've walked this land, have had dealings where individuals believe that the Bigfoot are nothing. They believe they're spiritual, but then you have other tribes who believe that they're just another tribe of Native Americans, which was interesting. I had never heard that before. And so, if they're just another tribe of Native Americans, and that puts them in the physical realm, but then at the same time, they believe them to be spiritual beings as well, and they go into explaining that. So he really is able to somehow make all these different opinions of Bigfoot being interdimensional, UFO, they go through the whole UFO Bigfoot correlation. They explain that correlation doesn't mean causation, so it doesn't mean Bigfoot causes the UFOs or vice versa. But at some time, to me, there's got to be a tipping point where the coincidence of Bigfoot and UFO appearing, you need to look more seriously into it. And and people will argue this point, that yes, they're connected, no, they're not connected. But to me, at this point, you have to have an open mind, even though with the experiences I've had, I've never encountered orbs. I never encountered UFOs with them either. So does that mean it's not a thing? No, it means that I just haven't experienced that yet. So I want people to see this movie who are interested in the topic. I went from renting it just to give it a watch because I had seen some stuff and I thought, let's see what happens to the fact that they take to owning it now on YouTube. Thank you. So I bought it on YouTube because they take like the Patterson Gimlin film. You got M.K. Davis on there talking about it. They bring out the Paul Freeman footage, which I didn't know his son. I believe his name is Michael Freeman, but you get the full history from that Freeman footage and what they have done that I didn't know they were, they're really looking at this film really close now. So, Charles Carroll, hello from Bankhead National Forest in Moulton, Alabama. Well, hello to Moulton, Alabama. Good to see you, Charles. So, I mean, looking hard at the films, and they've actually been able to do a lot of work on it now. They did some work that I hadn't seen before, which was amazing in the fact that they've been able to stabilize it, de-blur it a little bit, and now uh, Paul Freeman, who actually took the footage in early 90s, didn't find out until 2002 that there was a possibility that a baby jumps up, that the mom picks up the baby. And so now that they've de-blurred it, stabilized it, and enhanced it, but you can see clearly that there's a baby Bigfoot that gets picked up as mom's going. And when asked why Paul Freeman didn't film more, he had said that he felt like the vocalizations were getting more vocal, or not more vocal, more aggressive in the vocalizations. So that's why he wound up shutting the camera off, was self-preservation. And now that they know that there's a baby with it, it makes a whole lot of sense. Captain Birdseye, do you think Bigfoot has a cloaking device and that's why he's always able to escape? And they address that in the movie as well. Are they capable they put forth several possibilities with the if you're going the physical route, then if you look at the hair, they have the ability to kind of self-camouflage because there's color on each end, yet in the middle it's clear like a fiber optic. So that's one of the possibilities they put forth as far as the cloaking, is just the ability, natural camouflage. But then they do get into, because they've got like the Barb Shoot video, which they analyze, and you can actually see a cloaked Bigfoot, walking, and it looks just like in the Predator movie. So do they have the ability to somehow affect the light spectrum? And that seems to be gaining more and more traction. So it is, the movie is putting so much of the current information out there and not just taking a stand. It's giving everybody a fair shot. Charles Carroll, have had some strange things going around the house. What kind of strange things we got, Charles? They address the trail cam facts too, and everybody seems to be on the consensus that they can somehow have they're able to see the trail cam, or they can sense the trail cam. They have survival, instincts, and they have strategic instincts, and so there's different theories on why they think they can see them. Or is it something to the fact where if you take one of those little Hulk figures in the back and move it, when I walk through that door, I'm going to notice it. So is it just a case of they are so in tune with their environment that they just see it, or are they able to smell the the human scent on it? Are they able to scent the camera? Are they able to see, because even with the trail cams, for their triggers are like a passive IR system, are they able to somehow see that? And that's where I fall into. Just FYI, is I think they can see the trail cams. I don't think it's just a matter of smell, and they do seem to know what they're doing, and they don't want their picture taken because they actually, turn the camera so the light isn't facing, or they, take the trail cam down. I've heard stories of trail cams go missing, which obviously, you get people stealing trail cams and things like that. But when there's 17 or 18-inch footprints is leading away from the tree and your camera's gone, there could be other conclusions made as well. There was a lot of eyewitness reports in there too, which was great. They also drew some, like one lady who works at these, they think they're energy vortexes or things like that, where we've got one here in Michigan called it's a mystery house, where they're either optical illusions, or the EMF is really high, or the magnetic field seems to be stronger for whatever reason. They have a version of that in Montana that they talk about, but this one actually seems to catch, where you see like a bluish light. Oh, come on. And then you see what they are taking to be a shape of a Bigfoot, the forward hunch, the huge shoulders, the neck sitting on the shoulders, the slanted forehead and everything. Walk in front of the camera a couple times. It walks back. The light comes back on. It walks back and through one more time, and then everything's done. So, are they interdimensional? And that's what, they give you that option and they explain it. And for the first time, it's like, okay, maybe this is a real thing. Charles West stuff going on in his house. Throw rocks at my house. I hunt behind my house, found a structure. Hey, not a big one, but it's new, and seen something big on all fours, and never seen anything that fast. And believe it or not, Charles, it seems like Bigfoot actually move faster when they are on all fours. So that definitely, if you watch MK Davis channel, Green Wave 2010, watch that channel and watch a video called Whitey's Run, and you'll see what appears to be a Bigfoot taking off on all fours, and he is hauling butt. And it's definitely not a human in a costume, because everything about the way it moves is not the way a human would move on all fours. So it was a blur. Yeah, and when you look at your statement, when you talk about throwing rocks at your house, the first thing you have to look at is, um, are the trees over where they're landing? Are they being hit on the house? Or because if there's not, they're not falling on the house, then it takes hands to throw. It's the one thing I've always said, it takes hands to throw. So anything being thrown is probably not a bear. It's probably not a raccoon being able to, push. And depending how big the rocks are, will depend on, the size of what's being thrown. And have you ever found tracks out there at all, or impressions? You say you found a structure. The structures don't have to be big, because a lot of times structures are markers. Michelle says, stay safe, Charles. Agree. Um, One night they hit the house. The rocks, or did they actually slap the house? Now, you hunt back there. Do you leave when people field dress a deer? Do you leave them out there? And have you ever had anything that you hit but didn't track? So I'm wondering why. When did this start? How long has it been? Has it been going on since you've lived there? I'm my line of thinking is, did you do something, or did they just move in, or did you upset them somehow with the hunting? Maybe something set them off as to what you're doing, and that could be anything from your control or not your control. Like, so it's been going on the last 6 months. Is there anything in your mind that you can think of that happened? Did you put up a new garage or something, or change the environment around your house in some way? Or is that when you began hunting out back? So while we're waiting for, yeah, I've left deer after you dressed them. So, what can happen is they can get used to that being a thing, and they're kind of waiting for the dinner bell. And if they don't get the dinner bell as often as they want, they're going to start letting you know. Yeah, and you heard howling too. So I would, if you want to message me offline, and talk more about it, you're more than welcome to. Uh, there is another person, like, oh bear, you stopped it. So that might be the problem, because that's what happened with, I don't know if you've seen the past history. I'll sum it up real quick. Was I got sick. I'd been doing peanut butter for a couple of years. And when I got sick and they didn't get that peanut butter after a couple of weeks, they started letting the residents across the street know they weren't happy with it. Mike Nation, hi guys. How's everybody tonight? I am doing wonderful. How are you, Mike? So Charles, after it was about 2 weeks, and apparently what had happened was one of the residents' motion lights were coming on, and they couldn't figure out what it was. It was about 2 or 3 in the morning, and what it was, when they looked at the footage, was empty peanut butter jars being tossed into the yard. So they hadn't gotten their peanut butter. After a couple of weeks, they started acting up by throwing empty peanut butter jars into the neighbor's yard to get the motion lights to come on. And then after 3 weeks with me being sick, what actually happened was uh, a house down the road started getting activity and woke up their daughter screaming. And when dad went in, there was a big squatch staring in the second story window at his daughter. So they were letting everybody know that they weren't happy that the feeding had stopped. Charles, hi, Michelle. Got one of your chickens? Yep. So if you want this to stop, what you're probably going to wind up doing, and what I would recommend if you want it to stop, is put up a bunch of motion lights, especially around your chickens or any other livestock you got. Motion lights, trail cams. As I mentioned earlier, they talk about trail cams, the fact that they can see the trail cams. They knocked over piles of your wood. Yeah, I think they're upset with you, Charles. I think they're upset that they're not getting their feeding, and now you have to make it abundantly clear that that's not acceptable. I would even talk as you're out there. This is my property. You need to leave us alone. You're not going to get that food. And put those motion lights up and put trail cams up, and things should settle down. If they don't, then you might have to, go up another little farther. Charles might think my dogs are friends with them. That happens. There was a account in Benzie 2 years ago where that somebody was driving down the road, looked over, and they saw the woman let her dogs out, and the dogs ran instantly across the road. The lady had to hit the brakes not to hit the dogs, and saw a large hairy object walk off with the dogs into the woods. Charles, so you have put up trail cams and motion lights. Nothing's changed yet. How long ago was that? Mike Nation, what state are you in? I'm in Michigan. I'm not sure where Charles is at. So do you, and Charles, do you have the area well covered, or are there gaps in it? Maybe that's where you almost want to have like almost a wall and make sure that the lights, form that so there's no gaps where they try to sneak in. And you talk to them. When you talk to them, do you try to be passive, or do you try to put your foot down and say, "This is my house"? Michelle's in the Pacific Northwest of Oregon. Oh, you're not. Prime spot, Michelle. Charles, Bankhead National Forest in Moulton, Alabama. I have talked to them. Make sure you put your foot down. Talk to them like angry dad talking to a child. My house, my rules. This has to stop. So, and if this is continuing, I can put you in touch with the guy who is a lot of experience in dealing with squatches that start to become problematic. So, have you found prints? I'm wondering, and how big? I'm thinking you probably just got a couple juveniles who are, especially if they're playing with your dogs. Mike, now would that be classified as a wood booger down that way? I don't know what they're called there. That's a good question, Mike. I know you got the Ohio grassman, and I know there's wood boogers and all kinds of different names depending on where you're at and native tongue for them. So, uh, and Charles, if I were you, if this isn't calming down with putting the lights up and cutting off that food supply, one, I think so too. So, uh, check out the channel Old Bear's Den of Bigfoot. The guy in there is Old Bear. Reach out to him and, you know, so reach out to Old Bear through the channel and then turn around and tell him, Brian from Bigfoot Outlaw Network recommended that that you reach out to him because of the issue. So he'll be able to help you put that to rest if that's what you want to do. The howling, I think, is Dog Man. It could be. With everything else you've got going on, I would, and this is my opinion. Maybe I better find that little disclaimer. This says, yep, here we go. Let's put this up because I am not an expert. So again, just my opinion, folks. I don't even call myself a researcher. I call myself an enthusiast. So you're literally just taking my word for it. Have you been able to record that audio? If everybody watching, sorry, we're having a Q&A here as well. As well as talking about the movie, because we've got Charles in here who seems to be having a problem, and I'm all about helping people as we go. So there are a lot of sightings around Bankhead National Forest of Dogman and Bigfoot, or there's always that. Here would be another one that would make a good movie as far as deep diving. Do dog as far as cohabitation, Dogman and Bigfoot. To me, uh, doesn't make sense. I mean, I think it maybe overlap, but there's kind of a treaty. You stay over there, we stay over here. You don't go past that pine tree. We won't go past this fence post. So maybe you're hearing the howling of a dog man, but at the same time, it might be the Bigfoot with the issue. Charles, Michelle, I've always wanted to go where you live. Oh, I'd love to see the Pacific Northwest as well. That's like one of my, bucket list places. The encounters you get on, I want to hit Willow Creek and check that out. So, I mean, you might have both. Not saying you don't, not saying you do, but it very well could be Bigfoot doing the activity, but you're hearing Dogman still claim their territory without them being the ones who are giving you the problem. So, I'll put more recorders out at night if you can. Try to capture the audio so people can have a better idea of what they're listening to. And if you hear any tree, if there's tree knocking going on, maybe you're not catching things like that, can also lead to helping identify what's going on in your house. Again, prints are always a good indication, but we know a whole lot of researchers who have gone a whole lot of years and never found a print in their life. So it's not like that's the know all to be all. Charles. So, but yeah, if you want a well-informed, and I've watched every Bigfoot thing I can find, as far as when it's on TV, all your Monster Quest over and over with Monster Quest. The documentaries when they have them out. Of course, I watched all the Finding Bigfoot. Haven't watched Expedition Bigfoot just because I got a little burned out on the Finding after a while. So I haven't given Expedition a fair shake, but this was by far the best overall view of the Bigfoot world and the evidence they have and what they're looking at. So Charles says, I am not scared so far. I go hunting every day, haven't really done anything to me to scare me. I'm going to put out a recorder, no camera. Yeah, if you want, you put a camera out and most of the time it's going to die down. You're not going to get anything. I put a camera out for 2 hours. It took one picture of what looked like some kind of shape in the grass, and that area went dead for 2 weeks. And it was always a very consistent place of finding stuff. And for 2 weeks, there was nothing. Shantonics. To Mike Nation, is this over peanut butter or something? I missed a lot. I'm sorry. Just curious to catch up. Mike, it sounded like it would have been from getting some deer and leaving the guts behind for him. So it sounded like that got cut off when he quit doing that, and then is when the activity kind of started ramping up with Rock's Hidden House and things like that. I'm the peanut butter guy, one of the peanut butter guys, not like the only one who ever did it, but it's the same situation no matter what the food source is. If you're feeding them and you stop, even if you're inadvertently feeding them by not thinking about it and stop, they're going to start acting up somehow to let you know they're not happy with it. So that's how that goes. And people warn me. I'll tell you, people warn me, and that if you do this, you better be ready to do it for life, because when you stop, they're going to act up. It's no different than if you do it with on an ethical level. If you're feeding Bigfoot on your property and you sell your house, ethically to me, if you're still getting activity when you're signing your papers, you might tell them. Maybe they think you're weird or whatever, but in my heart, at least I would know I told the truth. The shizzle, hello, Michelle. We have many sightings here all over the state. Michelle, I bet you've seen any. So yeah, as far as the movie, check it out. American Sasquatch, Man, Myth, Monster by David Paulides. Like I said, I know he gets a lot of grief, causes controversy, but it was probably the best overall, all encompassing, not pushing any one narrative, giving credibility to all of it without trying to sway you one way or the other. It was very well done in the format that I'm going to go back out there and watch it again right now, because of the fact there was so much going on that there was some stuff I missed. Decision, where are you? I'm at home in Michigan. Ah, Decision's seen it. Yes, excellent movie, and I recommend. You know, on a scale of 1 to 5, it's a 5-jar peanut butter rating for me. It was excellent. I'm going to buy it. I have bought it. Can't wait to watch it again. And next week, as we wrap this up, don't forget Charles, Old Bear's Den of Bigfoot. Check it out. Check him out. Tell him I sent you. Next week, the movie Dawn of the Dog Man was something I was lucky enough to have a small part in months ago. Can you post name and author or where we can watch it? So I will type the title. You have to forgive me because I'm henpecking here. American Sasquatch by, oops. Now it does get confusing because it is American Sasquatch, but you got to put man, myth, monster, 2025 by David Paulides. Because there is another Sasquatch movie out there that's about 5 years old, and it'll pull that up before it does this one. So you want the 2025 American Sasquatch Man, Myth, Monster. I watched it on YouTube. I bought it on YouTube, but I'm sure it's also on other streaming platforms as well. Sizzle, yeah, exactly. That was great the way he did. Too many people have narrow perceptions. He looked at all the angles and not just one track. That was what I can't emphasize enough. So I have friends in the UP if you're in Michigan. No, if you ask your friends where I'm from, down in the lower part of Michigan, I'll be a troll because I live under the bridge, so I'm a troll. Michelle's not seen one. Oh, you got it on Prime. Very cool. I did it on YouTube just because I rented it and then I just hit the buy button after I did it. So you can get it on. It sounds like quite a few different streaming services. And then next week, like I said, Dawn of the Dog Man. The best part about this is by Small Town Monsters, which most will know. Heather Moser is going to be on the show next week. She's the producer for this movie and Small Town Monsters. So, Maria, when's the psychic Angela come? I believe she is on Tuesday night. Maria. But Heather will be here, the producer behind Small Town Monsters. And we are going to take a look into Dawn of the Dog Man and everything that went into it. It is an incredible watch if you have interest in the Dog Man, because it gives basically from the first sighting to the hotspots in Michigan, the experience my family had. So make sure you tune in next week as we go over that movie. An incredible movie. Mary was kind enough. There is a link, American Sasquatch, in the video description. So we'll be able to get that. Thank you, Mary, so much. Because it's amazing, folks. I'm telling you, right now, to me, it's the movie to watch about Bigfoot, because you learn not just one person's perspective. You're not looking at one person's narrative or just their sliver of vision. You're getting everything. And then you're allowed to make your own decisions on what's actually happening. Because personally, I think it's a combination. It's still something we don't understand, but there is more being brought forward because it's becoming more acceptable to talk about. So again, five jar peanut butter review, best you're going to get. Make sure you check it out. Make sure you come back with us next week so we can talk with Heather and Dawn of the Dog Man, because I got to be a little part of it, and that's not why I'm recommending it, but the way they put it together, the amount of work and history that went into this. I know several of the people involved with, because I live in northern Michigan and basically the dogman capital of the world at this point. So I know what is happening with that. And you're going to be impressed, and I can't wait to hear Heather explain, because this was a long project. I mean, there's interviews in there from people that have unfortunately passed on. So this has been it looks like a project that was a long time coming, and it was worth the wait by far. So what I would like to do is just wish everybody a good weekend. Thanks for joining in tonight. Oops, a couple comments. Daniel, I'm happy it's Brian Barber. I don't believe all those people will make all that up. No, and the sightings go back into the 1800s, so there's a lot of stuff to cover. Toby Johnson was just on earlier this season from Small Town Monsters on an interview himself. Oh, very cool. So what I would like to say is how we usually wrap the show up. Coast to coast, around the world. Everybody have a great weekend. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for the conversation. Charles, I hope I helped a little bit, or at least got you pointed in the right direction. If you need more, feel free to look me up on Facebook and shoot me a message, or you can look on Bigfoot's Barbershop as well to get through to me. Everyone have a great evening. and we will talk to you next week.